Now let's see what we yesterday. Let's just go from. Let's go quickly from Masif of Shmuel Bar Yitzchak.
We started yesterday Ashu and also Gediva, Gedish yesterday.
Yesterday we did Gedish.
Ashu, Gediva, Gedish yesterday.
Let's go back from Amali Rabba.
31.
Let's go from Amali's Rabba. Sure.
Okay, so okay, so fine. So let's say like this. Yesterday we dealt with Reuven's kasha, right? Where did we start with?
Amali Rabba.
Amar Rabbi
Yeah.
Rashi Ashu Shelo b'kavana.
Yeah. Amalei Rava. Rava says to Rabba. Thank you. Right? Ihachi. If this is so, right? If it's so that there's a chiyuv damim, there is an obligation to pay damim on the when the shore kills an eved, when there are witnesses, and there's no payment of kofar or knas. For example, when he did it shelo b'kavanah, he was scratching himself on the wall. The animal, his back was scratchy, so he scratched himself on the wall, and the wall falls down. He was doing too hard, and the wall fell down and killed the eved. So that's called that he killed the eved shelo b'kavanah. So there won't be a din skila over there. There won't be a din knas over there. And there'll be a payment of damim, just like there's a payment of damim, like we saw when there's no kofar for ben chorin. If this is all so, ihachi, if that's all so then he has the following kasha, Rava. What's his kasha? Continue, please. Who's reading? Yechiel?
Amar Rabba Yachi Ashu
Ishoi.
Shelo b'kavana. Al pi edin mishalem damim.
If it's his eish and it kills, it's his fire and it killed a person, shelo b'kavana. He mentions shelo b'kavana. Al pi edin, we have witnesses to that effect. Shalom damim. There will be a payment of damim. There will be a payment of damim. That's what Rava mentioned to Rabba. And he mentioned this as a question on what Rabba said. What's the question?
He doesn't say if it's Eved or Ben Cholim, right?
He doesn't say too much of anything over here in this question. The question is hard to understand what exactly the case is that he's asking from. Okay, we'll flesh it out. Ezrat Hashem. Let's see further in the Gemora. So the next thing the Gemora says is what?
V'mana le Rabba Jalo Mishalem.
One second. The Gemora says, one second over here. What exactly is is Rava, what is his point over here? Minale l'Rava de lo mishalem. From where does Rava know that in such a case there is no payment of dummy? How does he know there's no payment? See, you have to understand. What was Rava's question? Rava's question was, if it's true what Rabba said, that there will be a payment of dummy in that case of killing the Eved Shalom b'kavanah and with witnesses, then it'll come out a din that is not true. What's the din which is not true? If his aish, that he started a fire, and it was Shalom b'kavanah, killing a person who wasn't able to escape, and witnesses saw it, al pi'edim, he'll have to pay damim. And Rava is asking this because apparently he holds that there is no payment of damim in that case. So that's why the Gemora, what?
Maybe the covenant is he's talking about the Eved, not Ben Chorim.
How can there be witnesses to an unintentional act?
No, we see that he was.
So he's talking about Ben Chorim. If he's talking about
But
Eved,
the
it's
wit-
and
the
Damim.
wit- the witnesses are that the case happened. The witnesses aren't that the fire wasn't set.
They have to warn him.
That's not below kavara. Negligence is below kavara. It's not the same situation. It's not an intentional. Warning is part of intentional. It wasn't intentional. So
But isn't warning part of being a witness?
I hear the question. Let's get a little further into it. The whole case, what we're talking about here, is not really clearly formulated over here. It's very, very not clear. So we're going to keep the question. What's the issue of kavana over here? How does that relate to the witnesses? But let's try to follow with what the flow of the Gemora is over here. The Gemora asks over here, Minale l'Rava de lo mishalem. Rava apparently understands that this case is a case where you would not pay. But his question is that according to what Rabbah has said, it would come out that one would have to pay in this case. So therefore, he's saying that Rabbah is saying something that's difficult. So now the Gemara is saying, where did Rabbah get off holding that you would not pay in a case like this? Okay? So let's see what the Gemara suggests as the possibility over here. The Gemara is going to suggest that it must be that he got this from a Mishnah later on in Bava Kama. It happens to be on Samach Aleph Amud base. Let's see. Okay, thanks, Akhil. Who else wants to read? Roy, you want to read? Ilema.
Ilema medicinal. Perhaps you'll say from that which we learned in the Mishnah.
Yeah.
And the note here is that the Mishnah is in 61b. 61b.
Right. Samach Aleph Amud base. Right.
So in that Mishnah, kapos law. One sets fire to a stack of grain, and there was a kid, a young goat, tied to the stack. The Eved Much law, and the slave was near it. The Nis Raf Amar, and the slave wasn't bound, but although he wasn't bound to the stack, he was burned with it. Pay, the one who set the fire is liable to pay for the kid and the stack. Eved kapos law.
And what about the Eved in that case?
Eved kapos law. If it was
the evidence in that case.
No, before you get to that, let's
That
talk about this case right here.
The evidence in that case should be putter because he didn't have to stay there. He wasn't tied.
Right. It says that the Eved was samachlo. He wasn't tied.
Yeah.
So therefore the Eved, there's no liability
fraudulent.
for the Eved because he should have ran away. He should have ran away. Okay.
That's assuming they could run away, I suppose.
Yeah. That's what we determined, that he was able to run away. He didn't do so for whatever reason, so therefore that's not the responsibility of the one that set the fire.
Why does it say chayiv?
Because it's talking about hire for the goat that was tied up, and for the haystack itself that was burnt up.
Got it.
And we have no Rashi on this over here. It's all, I guess, over there in Samach Aleph Amid Beis.
Well, there's a little rush.
There. Is there Rashi?
A little.
Oh, so let's take a look at the Rashi. Haya Gedi Kofus Loi.
You actually have Rashi before that. The Ihachi is a Rashi.
Okay, want to read that?
Okay, the Ihachi is so. Is about what, so this is Rava talking to Rava, saying, well, do you have a problem with the H case? The Shoro Shalo the Kavanah, that if you have an ox that killed without Kavanah, Alpi Edim, and there were Edim who witnessed it, the Leisne B'Torah's Kofer, that there would be no matter of Kofer in that situation.
No din of kofar.
No din of Kofer. Mishalem Dummy has to pay the Dummy in that case.
But he would pay Damim though, even though it's Shelo B'Kavanah.
That's the ox case. Kaven since Sheyesh Damim Umitas Adam, because there is this value that he has to pay, the damage for the Mitas Adam, for the death of the person, Binkom, instead of She'ain Kofer, because there's no Kofer in it. So there would be Damim for a Ben Chorim, that's what we're talking about here. The Kanas, and a fine. The fine would be for the, in that case, for the heaven.
Yeah.
A Shonami.
So since that's the Ihaki. And that's what the Rabbah is saying. That there would be a payment of Damim for the case of Eved, that the animal killed without intention, just like there would be a payment for Ben Chorim. That's what Rabbah admitted to, based upon that brisa that Rav Shmuel Bar Yitzchak brought up. So
And that's instead of the kofir and the fine.
right,
It's Dummy.
right.
Yeah.
Right, so if that's so, that there's going to be a payment of Damim even on an Eved, which we didn't see that case before, that there was going to be a payment of Damim for an Eved. Rabbi was saying before, there's no payment of Damim for the Eved. It's not like the case of the Ben Chorim. And then we brought a brisa that was a challenge to him. He says, oh yeah, that's talking about this case. This case where there's Edim and the animal killed Shelo B'Kavanah. In that case, Shelo B'Kavanah, there will be a payment of Damim in the case of Eved, just like there is a payment of Damim in the case of Ben Chorim. If that's also, like you say, Rabbah, so then this should follow as well. Ishoi.
Ishonami, it should be for the fire also. The Torah's Kofer, because there is no rule, there's no din of Kofer on that. Mishalem Dummy, that have to pay Damim.
Pay Damim.
Shelo B'Kavanah, without Kavanah. Daha Yishna B'Torah's Nezikin. This you should learn by the din of Nezikin, damages. Mihu, however, though, the Kavanah, but if he did it intentionally, the Kavanah, Pshitala, it's obvious, the Pata, that he would be Pata for paying it all. The Kamle, the Rabbaneh. Because once it's obvious that there's no Damim value because he'd be Chayiv Misa. He'd be Chayiv the more strict punishment.
So that's why we have to talk about a case of Shelo B'Kavanah in the case of Eish. there'll be a payment of damim in the case of Eish, his fire that he started. There won't be a payment of kofar in that case, but he'll have to pay damim in that case, because there is a payment of damim in that case.
Shelo b'kavanah, right?
He says shalom b'kavanah,
Shelo.
dafka shalom b'kavanah, because if the person lit the fire b'kavanah,
Right,
and it means over here b'kavanah to cause a death,
right.
so then pshita, then it's obvious that there will be no payment of damim in that case.
Right.
Then he'll be patur, Hikim Levitt Rabamini, because then he'll be judged just with the more severe din of misa for being a rotzeach.
So you said,
And he'll be patur on the damim.
so it's a question though on Rava, because you now have the Eisho, it's fire now, you have the two dins, you can't have, it's not parallel anymore. For the shore, we had the case where it was damim on both, whether it was, the Evid, the Bid Chorim,
Right.
or the Evid, it was still damim.
Right.
Here it doesn't work that way. Here you would be pater and a dummy. In the second case, which according to what you would say, Rava, according to what you would say, how could it change from one to the other? How could it change?
2 and
from
4
one to the other?
anyway. When the story we brought in the story of kavanah, lo b'kavanah.
Yeah,
2 and 4 lo b'kavanah, and both of them you pay damim.
right.
You pay
Right.
damim.
But in this case, though, but that's below the kavanah. But big kavanah, he still would not be paying dummy. He would not be paying dummy because he would be made the rubber made. You'd have the more strict penalty.
Yeah.
The question that the Gemora is going to work out over here, what exactly is Rava's question on Rava, is based upon the fact that must be that Rava holds in this case where the person's eish, shelo b'kavanah, caused a death, and there's no din of kofar, that there'll be a payment of damim. And the Gemara says, oh, it must be that according to Rava, there should not be a payment of damim. He's asking this question on Rabba. According to you, Rabba, it should come out that there is a payment of damim. But I hold that there should not be a payment of damim. That's what the Gemara is now going to say. Menale l'Rava below Mishalem. Where did Rava know that in this case there will not be a payment of damim? Such that he's asking this question on Rabbah, saying, according to you, it'll come out that there will be a payment of damim. So now the Gemara attempts to figure out where it is that he got this din from. So the Gemara says, oh, Elema, if you'll say that he got it from this Mishnah here that we're quoting from the Mishnah about the haystack and the Gedi and the Eved, and in one case it was tied up, and in one case it was not tied up. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to see from this Mishnah, that according to Rava, the way Rava learns this Mishnah, you'll say that it would come out that there should not be a payment of damim in the case of the person's eish. Okay, so that's what we're going to do over here. Rachman, so we did read the first case of the Mishnah, where the goat is tied up, the Eved is not tied up, and he lights the haystack, and it says that he's chayav for the goat and the haystack, but he's not chayav for the Eved. What's Rashi say over there? Haya gedi kafus lo.
Haya gedi kafut lo. The gedi was tied up to the Kadesh, Rashi says, to the haystack.
That's the haystack.
Chayav. He is chayav, obligated to pay the damages on that gedi.
Everybody see where the Rashi is? It's the last of the narrow Rashis. The first word in the line is chayav. That's from the...
So we're not doing the previous Rashi?
We did it. We did.
Chaya, Didi.
We left out the word the Gadish.
Yeah, that's just what Rachman read. Hayagod Gedi Kafus Loy, he's tied to it. What's the it? Says Rashi, that's the Gadish that he's tied to.
It's tied up to the Gadish.
So if the Gadish is going to go up in flames, so is the Gedi,
So Gadi.
unfortunately, going to go up in flames.
So okay, so Rashi says Agadi, Gadish. What is he chayav on? On the Gedi and on the haystack.
Right.
Was it burned down? But Fator on the Evid, and he's Pator on the Evid.
He'll be
Okay,
exempt on the
exempt on the
Evid,
Evid.
says Rashi. Why?
The Haya lo livroch. He should have ran away.
Should have ran away.
So we have an answer for Rabbi here.
Obviously, he had the ability to run away. That's why we're saying that he should have done so. If he wouldn't have had the ability to run away, so then there would have been liability
So,
over
so
there
we
as
learn,
well.
we learn about Rabbi here on Mishnah, on this case, that it was Pator on the Evid.
I think the proof is going to be from the Sefer.
The Sefer?
Yeah, from the Sefer.
Not from this.
Yeah.
Because we could say he ran away, that's why he's Pator.
Well,
But if he was burned up and he was Pator, that would answer Rabbi's Kushi on Rabbah, right? If he was burned up, the Evid was also burned up. And he was Pator and he didn't have to pay. That would be an answer Rabbah on Rabbi's Kushi on Rabbah. Did I say that?
right. I think so. In other words, this case now we're going to see where it is that Rava thought that in such a case he would be chayiv.
So it's not on this case I just read. It's on the next case. The next case is. Say go on?
Let's yeah, it's.
Remember,
Remember, what did Rabbah say again to Rabbah? He said, according to you, Rabbah, it should come out that in the case of Aish, person lights a fire, Shalo b'kavanah, in other words, without kavanah to cause a misa, right? He was lighting a barbecue over there. So, he wasn't trying to kill anybody. So he did so Shalo b'kavanah, but it ended up killing somebody that wasn't able to run away. So in that case, al pi edim, and it was al pi edim. He says nishalim damim. According to you, Rabbah, it should come out that there should be a payment of damim in that case.
And
I
here
thought
in
he
this
said
case
there
was
was
a
not a
Gedi.
payment.
That's
The
right.
Shalom.
The Rabbah says there won't be a payment. And the first example is not a.
He's saying that according to Rabbah, it should come out, according to what you have said, Rabbah, that he should pay
You
damim.
should pay them.
Why does it say?
And Rava holds that that's a kasha because he holds himself that there should not be a
Not
payment.
be a payment.
That's why the Gemora is asking over here, where did Rava see that there's no payment in a case like that?
And he gave us
Such
a
that he's
Mishnah.
asking this question on Rava.
And he gave us a Mishnah to prove it.
Yeah.
Well, like Rabbah. Like from this Mishnah, and then the first part of the Mishnah, I don't know. Does it prove it?
The second part, you have to read the next piece.
The second part it proves it?
The second part proves it.
Not the first part.
This Mishnah is going to be where the Gemora thinks that Rava must have concluded that there will not be a payment of dummy for this case.
It's the first
He
case, he should have ran away. That's why he's Patur.
Yeah, but you're right. Now read the second case.
Okay, the second case. Evid kaput. The Evid is tied up. Kaput low to the haystack. And the Gedi.
So he can't run away to
Can't
Evid.
run away. The Gedi is samuchlo, and the Gedi is not tied up here. So he's close to the haystack.
Yeah.
But nisrafu imo, and the Gedi is also nisraf with the Evid. Patur. This is the case.
Patur.
The Rabbi learns out from. This is the case. He's Patur. That's what he says. He's Patur from Dami. We have a Kasava Rava. Hai patur Evid, that he's patur on the Evid. This is against Rabba now.
The Sava Rava is of the view.
Hai patur
Hi
Evid.
patur, this
the
patur
Gedi.
that it says in the Mishnah
Right.
doesn't say what is he patur for. Maybe he's only patur on the doesn't say exactly what he's patur on. But Rava holds that he's patur on what?
On the patur on the Evid and the Gedi.
He's even patur on the Evid.
Yeah, on the Evid.
You know, the Evan was tied up.
Even was tied up.
Even though the Evid was tied up and he couldn't run away. So why would he be patur on it?
Yeah. The Gedi Kamar. The Gedi Kamar. He's patur on it, and this is Rava's proof against Rabba now. We see a case was maybe there was witnesses. Maybe there were witnesses, and he didn't have below kavanah. He didn't have kavanah to kill the Evid. He just lit his fire, and he's patur. So this would be against Rabba. Rabba would say in a case like this, it would be chayav on damim. And Rabba says no, he's patur on damim here. Come on, Evid. Why is he patur on the Evid? Mishum de'ein tashlumim of Kamar Evid on the Evid. Mishum, why is he patur on the Evid that got burnt up and was tied to the haystack? De'ein tashlumim, there's no payment. Le'Evid ela b'makom knas. But sure, Hamuad.
Why is he patur on the Evid according to Rava in this case?
There is no payment of damim if there's no case of knas. Ela b'makom knas. But sure Muad. That's the only case.
Saying there's only tashlum of damim for an Evid
in the
in a case
where there's
b'makom knas,
knas, and it's talking about a shore
the shore of wood.
muad, and not with a person sliding a haystack. The shore is damaging or killing the Evid, and there's kanas because of that. The kavanah and skila to the shore. But when you're burning, but when a person is doing the burning, he's lighting the haystack, then there is no case of damim here for some reason. There is no case of damim.
So why?
Only when the case is
What caused Rava to think that Rabba would say that in this case of Eish, that there would be liability? Rabba never said anything about a case of Eish. He was talking about a case of a shore goring and killing an Evid, that in the place of instead of a payment of knas, because it was shelo b'kavanah, the owner of the animal is going to be chayav to pay damim. Maybe Rabba holds Maybe Rabba holds also that when it comes to Eish, there's no payment of damim. I don't understand what Rabba's asking on him over here.
It's a different
According to
example altogether.
you, it'll come out that Eish will shelo b'kavanah, and there's Eidim, they'll pay damim. Who says what Rabba would ever say about a case of Eish?
It's a different case altogether.
Rabba never said there was a liability of damim for Eish. Rabba was talking about a case of a shore that killed shelo b'kavanah, as opposed to the cases that he was talking about before, where there was actually no payment of damim, where the shore killed yes b'kavanah, and there was a al pi atzmo, there was an admission of the shore doing it. Those are the cases that he was talking about. All of a sudden, along comes Rava over here, and he says, according to you, Rabba, it would come out, based upon what you have said, that this case here of Eish, there'll be a payment of damim. So now this was what Rashi was bothered by in Dibra Maskal Yihachi.
So we're not comparing the
same
fire
things.
with ox. We're not saying that the fire is in place of the ox in this.
I'm really saying I don't understand. It's not clear what Rava's question over here is on Rava. I'm in the middle of trying to answer the question that I've asked.
That's why it said Ilema.
But
Ilema.
what is Rava doing over here? He's saying to Rabba, there's a question on you based upon what you have said in the case of Shor, that it shall come out that in the case of Aish there will be liability. And you see from this Mishnah here in later on in the Masechta that there's no liability. Okay? But we need
It's not the same.
we have to understand what was the tzushtel that Rav is making over here.
Rubba is trying to say whether or not that, whether or not it applies across the board. He's saying that the Mishnah shows that in the case of Aish,
Yeah.
there would be no dummy.
Okay.
That's what Rubba is saying. In the
Okay.
case of Aish, there's no dummy.
Okay.
So he's saying Rabbah,
Right.
you should have learned that out. You should have learned it from the Aish Mitzvah, the Aish Mishnah, to bring it over to the Shor Mishnah, and that shouldn't have been your reason. And it should have been no Tashlumim instead of there being Tashlumim, instead of there being payment. He's saying that that other part, that other case does apply. That what you should learn from there, you should learn from Aish. That's the Ihachi. You should learn in the Aish case, just like in the Aish case. According to you, in the Aish case, it should have also been. He also should have paid. We know the Mishnah says he doesn't pay.
And therefore,
you have learned incorrectly, Rabbah, in your din. Your din doesn't make sense because
which din?
That says that you do pay in the case of the shor.
But that's what the Brisa says. He's just explaining the words of the
Right.
Brisa
So the
Shmoni
Brisa
Yitzchak says.
So Rabbah is trying to extend it to the Mishnah and saying, well, the Mishnah and the Brisa are in contradiction to each other. Well, so the question is, it could be they're just different cases. I mean, Rabbah can answer that. Well, that's the shore and that's the Brisa. The Brisa is on the shore, but the Aish is not. The Mishnah is on the Aish. They're two different things.
Right? That's what I'm asking.
They're two different things.
What
gives you the right
why did Rava think? I'm understanding what he's saying. He's not arguing. That's the question. In other words, why can't Rava just say back to Rava, you're right, I agree with that Mishnah about the Aish. There's no liability, that's true. Because the only liability for dumming that there is in the case when it's in the place of Kofir or Knas. Yeah.
Here it is no case of Kofir Knas.
Yeah, so what are you asking me? What do you drain me a cup
That's why
about Aish?
That's why it says Ilema mitanan. Maybe from here it brings us. It's not a good example. It's just trying to explain Rava how to get to what he said. And this example of the Mishnah is not a good example.
Well,
It's Ilema, if
the
we
Gemora
say. It's an if we say. Maybe you learn it from this Mishnah. No, it can't be. It's not the same case. That's why it says Ilema. Maybe from here, if we say from this Mishnah, but it isn't a good proof.
Let's take a look. If at the risk of confusing and boring everybody let's take a look at this Ihachi again. This Ihachi, Rashi is explaining the tzushtel of Rava. The tzushtel is what is a tzushtel? A tzushtel is that you were talking, Rabba, about the din of the shore, dumming for the shore, and I'm shtelling tzu and making a comparison and a contrast between this case of Aish, that according to what you have said in the case of shore, it should come out like that in the case of Aish. And you see in the Mishnah, not like that. It doesn't come out like that. If so then your din, what you're saying in the case of shor with damim is not correct, and there must be some other explanation of the brisa. But let's see how. But what I'm asking is, where do you see this tzushtel? It's got to be based upon something. What's this comparison that you are making between shor, the damim of shor, and the damim of eish? I think Rashi is going to explain this, and if we read this Rashi Ihachi again, maybe we'll understand what the comparison that it's a fair comparison that Reuven is making, because it seems to me that the Gemora accepts the comparison. The only thing that the Gemora says is, you can explain that Mishnah is talking about something else. There's another reason why he's potter. That's what Reish Lakish comes to say at the end. It's complicated cheshbon. It's very complicated. But what can we do? That's what the Gemara is doing. So we're just trying to explain it. Ihachi. Says Rashi, if it's so, like you have said, Rabbi, that sure, without kavanah, with aiding, where there is no payment of kofir, it's not a case of kofir. The leisei b'taras kofir, those are the key words. In that case, mishalim damim, he will pay damim. Haven, since the following proposition is part of your Torah, Rabbi. Haven sheyesh damim l'misas adam b'makom she'ein kofar knas. That's the postulate that Rava understands from what Rabba is saying. There is a payment of damim for the misa of a person b'makom she'ein kofar knas, where there's not going to be a payment of kofar and knas. Where there's not going to be a payment of kofar and knas, there'll be a payment of damim. Says Rava, I'll tell you another case that where there's no payment of kofar and knas. Ishonami. What about in the case of the person's ish that he created? Nami also. That's the tzushtel. The leisei b'toras kofar. There's no payment of kofar over there either. There's no din of kofar over there either. So that is the tzushtel. That's the commonality that Rava, with the aleph, is drawing between what Rabba said in the case of the shore where there's no kofar. Eish also, where it's not a case of kofar. Also, according to you, it'll come out, Rabba, the shalim damim, he will pay damim, in which case? Shalom b'kavanah, that he didn't have intention to murder the guy. In that case, there will be a payment. According to you, it'll come out. There'll be a payment for eish of Torah's nezikin for compensatory damages. That's the tzushtil. That's what Rashi says. That's what Rashi says. So even though it's not a case which is totally unrelated to kofar, you got a shore, and if the shore would be do it with kavanah, so there would have been it is shy kofar. But since we talked about a case, since Rabba talked about a case of the animal killing shalom b'kavanah. So Rava is saying, that's a case that has nothing to do with kofar. I'll tell you another case that's not a case of kofar. His eish. There's no kofar by eish either. According to you, Rabba, it'll come out that there'll be a payment of damim if in a wrongful death case. You see that this Mishnah over here on Samach Vav, what is it? Samach, whatever it is. You know what it is. 61a. It's B. In that case, according to you, not a case of kofar. What should be? Payment of damim. What do you see that the Mishnah says? No payment of damim. That's the question. That's the question. The Gemora accepts the question. Gemora says, accepts the question and says, where did Rava get this from? He got it from this Mishnah over here. Meaning to say that Rava has according to his reasoning, he has posed a significant challenge to Rabbah. It is a good sushtel. It is a good comparison. Did anybody understand what I was saying?
Yeah.
Okay? Okay. Because in other words, otherwise, Rabbi will say, "Yeah, what does my case have to do with the case that you're asking about on me? They have nothing to do with one another."
Who says that?
That's what I would have. That's what I would have thought that the Gemora would have said in defense of Rabbah. Rabbah, what are you asking? What's that got to do with what we're talking about? You're comparing apples and oranges. That's what we call nishkin sushtel. There's no comparison. Rabbah's talking about a shore that kills, and you're talking about eish that kills. Why would the fact that when the shore kills, there's a payment of damim, that doesn't require us to say that when the eish kills, there's going to be payment of damim?
That's what Rabbi would
This is
say?
different. It's a whole different din, whole different halachas.
That's what Rabbi would say?
I'm saying I would have thought that the Gemora could have answered that on behalf of Rabbah.
Right.
You see, the Gemora didn't do that.
Right.
Gemora says, "Yeah, well, this is a good kasha that Rabbah has asked over here on Rabbah. We're going to have to figure out what to answer for Rabbah over here, right? Okay.
Don't fail, don't fail.
What's the Gemora answer?
Sunday.
Okay. Good job.
What's the Gemora answer? We didn't finish reading the Rashi, but let's. I know that we didn't finish reading it. Rashi's gonna. He goes on and talks about something, but for our purposes, we've already understood what the question is. Let's go right now to the answer. How does the Gemora push off this question of Rava? Amar Reish Lakish.
Oh, you're in the Gemara now?
Yeah, I'm in the Gemora. You know what I do? I'm jumping around. Amar Reish Lakish. See where? See Amar Reish Lakish? This is the answer. Okay, Rachamim.
Amar Reish Lakish could go, for example, Sheitzit, Ikufo, Shalavid.
Yeah. Where did he?
What are we doing now with Reish Lakish? What is he trying to do here?
Reish Lakish is pushing off the kasha that Rava has just asked.
Okay. Kugon Sheitzit Begufo Shalavid Kimle with the Rabbi Minay.
Yeah.
How is that connected?
Okay. The Mishnah over here said that when the Eved is tied up,
Right.
there's a Patur.
Right.
And Rashi explained us that the Patur includes the Eved.
Right.
No liability of dumbing for the Eved.
Right.
When he's tied up.
Yeah, when he's tied up. If you lit the haystack and then it
When he
burned.
was not tied up, there was
The second example is when he was tied up. There's two examples.
Yeah, but I thought only in the case where he was not tied up, it was a putter because
Could have ran
he could
away.
run away.
He ran away.
But in the other
Right.
case, I thought it was chayav.
But what does the Mishnah say? Mishnah says Patur. And Rashi says that the Rashi says that Patur goes also on the Eved as well as on the Gedi. Why on the Eved also? Rashi explained because you see from this Mishnah the only reason it could be why there's a Patur is because you don't pay Damim. In this case, there's no payment of Damim. So according to you, Rabbah, according to you, a case which doesn't have kofar, there should pay damim. And here you see a case which is not shaykh to pay kofar because we're not talking about a shore. So there's no payment of kofar. Kofar is only when your shore kills. But when the person kills with his fire, there's no payment of kofar. So according to your rule, Rabbi, it should come out that there should be a payment of damim, just like we find by shore. It's true, shore is shore and Eish is Eish. But the commonality, the Zushtel that Rashi explained us for Rava was, they're both cases where it's not a case of kofir. There's no payment of kofir. So where there's no kofir, there should be a payment of damim. And you see from this Mishnah that there's no payment of damim. So what do you see, says Rashi? You see that when it comes to Evid, there won't be any tashlum for Evid except when it's Rashi says b'makom knas b'shor amud. It's like an exceptional. It's only in that case. Only in that case. But here there won't be. Here there won't be any payments. That's why it says patur.
Why is it patur?
Because there's just no din of damim in this case. There's no din of damim.
If there's no din of, why isn't there damim? Because the
din of damim applies in the case of wrongful death of an Eved,
right.
only bimkom knas by a shor mud or kofir.
I thought we just said that it is a good example, comparison.
It is a good comparison,
Right.
right?
So Rava does have a kushi on him.
Right,
on Rava.
right. That's the way we explained the question.
Right. And they were saying it's not a good
That's
example? Why isn't it a good example after all?
Now, what is Rish Lakish answering?
Yeah.
He's saying, why is there a patur over here?
Yeah.
Not because it would not have been possible to pay damim over here. It would have been possible to pay damim.
Yeah.
If it would have been a case, of a wrongful death that was without kavanah,
Right.
it would have been possible to pay damim.
Right.
Just like it's possible to pay damim in the case where your shore does it, shalom b'kavanah.
Right.
Just like over there too.
Okay.
So why is the Mishnah saying that there's a patur? So Reish Lakish says the reason why the Mishnah is saying a patur because the case that the Mishnah is talking about over here in Samach, whatever it is, Aleph Amid Beis, is a case Kagon Shehitzis Begufoy Shel Eved. He didn't light a barbecue. He lit the Eved. It's a case of kavanah to kill.
So that's what the Mishnah is talking about?
That's what the Mishnah is talking about. Kigon, what's the case talking about over here? Says Reish Lakish. What's the reason for the Mishnah that it says patur in the case where the Eved is kafus low, and nevertheless he's patur, even if the Eved couldn't get away? He's going to be patur on the damim. Why? Because of Kim Leva de Rabamina, because he's chayav misa. Because he wasn't lighting a barbecue, he was lighting the Eved. It seats begufo shel Eved. He lit the goof of the Eved. So that's not called a case of Eish. That's called a case of murder, right? That's what it's called. Just like you could use a gun, but you can't say, oh, I didn't do it, the gun did it, right? So you can't say, oh, I didn't do anything, the Eish did it. What do you mean? You took the Eish and you put it on the person. That's called murder, right? That's not a case of Eish. Eish means that the mazik was Eish. There's a din mazik. The mazik was the Eish. I was lighting barbecue, and the Eish got out of hand, and it burnt somebody. The Eish was the mazik. I didn't intend to be mazik anybody. Yeah, but Lamaisa, you lit the Eish, and the wind took it, and boom, that's what happened to the Eved.
That be Gemora?
That's that has to do with the din of Aish. I don't think we say that when it comes to that's called like a set stage. That's part of the situation that you're dealing with when it comes to Aish.
So he's talking, it was saying here, the Mishnah, Avid Kafut, Lo, V'gedi Samuch Lo, Nisrafi Mo Patur, it's talking about him, going to Reish Lakish, that he lit the Avid.
Right.
That's what it's talking about?
Right. It's not a din of Aish.
Ah,
It's not a din Aish that would be a case where there's it's a case of Nizikin, and it caused a wrongful death,
right.
and there's not a payment of kofar over here. So
Right.
according to the postulate of Rabbah, it should come out there's liability, just like there's a case when the shore does nezik and it unintentionally, and he kills the Eved.
Right.
It's also going to be a payment of damim over there, according to Rabbah. The question was, yes, Roy,
Do this tomorrow again.
we'll do this tomorrow again.
Good.
Same time, same channel.
It's Rat Hashem.
Alright.